how do you train chess these days? What's do you practice? Do you do deliberate practice? I mean, you're in this tough position because you're also a creator, an educator, an entertainer. So, do you try to put in time of like daily practice?
I don't train chess anymore when I'm focusing on creating. I do if I'm preparing for a tournament, but back in the day I would train very seriously for tournaments, and the way it would work is I do opening preparation for a specific tournament because that's when you really need to have those lines memorized and you could also prepare for specific opponents. And I would do tactics to make sure I stay sharp. So those were the two things I would do every single day for a tournament and then mix up the rest with like maybe some end games, maybe some positional chess.
So, what does tactics preparation looks like? Do you do like a puzzle,
Mhm.
like a random puzzle thing? Like,
Yeah. I would
mm,
just train puzzles for at least like 30 to 60 minutes or books. And sometimes and there's different kinds of puzzles. One you could train for pattern recognition where you're supposed to go through them very quickly. And that's just so that when you're playing the game, if your mind is tired, it's still keeping track of things a little bit more easily. And then there's where you're practicing your combination. And those sometimes take like 20 minutes to find because you have to just calculate a lot. And it's more like making sure that you've trained with that muscle. But Andrea's actually very good at finding ways to balance and still study while also doing content.
yeah. So, what you're able to do both?
That's the hard thing. I was getting very irritated with content because I'm very competitive. I don't like playing chess if I'm losing. And if you're talking and entertaining, you're going to be losing more games than winning. So then I started doing more training streams where I'd bring on my coach. And one of the things that I wanted to add to Alex's training repertoire, so I would do daily puzzles every time I'm streaming, which helped me a lot, even if it's like there's this thing on chess.com called Puzzle Rush, where you have 3 minutes and you just do puzzle after puzzle where they get incrementally harder. And it's just a really good way to build your pattern recognition, especially when you're rusty. So I would do that till I hit a high score, and I wouldn't play any blitz until I hit the score that I want. But that's kind of more like the fun part of chess studying. The very important one is actually analyzing your losses in your tournament games. And first, you sit and you look through your mistake yourself and try to see if you can find the better moves. And then that's when you would check over with the computer to see if you're right. So game analysis is also very important, which I try to do.
I remember to give a shout out. I listened to a couple of episodes of the Perpetual Chess podcast, which is pretty good. But whatever I listened to, I remember it's I think they really focus on like teaching people
How to
how,
train.
yeah, how to play, how to train, all that kind of stuff. They do like yeah, I'm looking now, adult improver. So basically, like how do regular noobs get better at chess?
Yeah.
One of the things
Cool, it's a
one of the
podcast.
person that said, I think he was a grandmaster, but he said to maximize the amount of time you spend every day of like, basically, as you were saying, like suffering. So like it's not about like you should be thinking, you should be doing calculating. So it's the opposite of what Magnus said. Like you should be doing a lot of time. It doesn't matter what the puzzle is or whatever the hell you're doing, but you should be like doing that difficult calculation. That's how you get better.
Yeah, it really depends what you're training, because I used to think the same, but it depends what you're weaker at. Because if you're doing the really difficult puzzles, you're training for like visualization and calculating more moves ahead than you typically would, which maybe you wouldn't get into that as often in a regular game because typically you run into like 3 to 4 tactics, which are actually the easier and more fun ones to solve. So really depends.
And on top of that, as a hobbyist, your motivation is very different than when you're playing from a young age and have pretty high competitive ambition. And a lot of people who are new to chess, you could basically work on anything and still improve.
Right.
So if you're focusing on something you like, you're probably going to stick to it more and be more consistent, which I think is more helpful long term.